welcome everybody. As you can see, there's Sherri and there's David, and Anu is going to join us, and I will introduce her when she comes. But today, this is all about Gems of Araku and the auction that we've got coming up on the 24th of May, I believe.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, at 2 p.m. London time. And we've got a number of esteemed guests here today to discuss the coffee and to discuss the auction and what's behind it. And I'll introduce you to everybody one by one, and then they can introduce themselves, and then we can talk a bit more about it. Just as some background, this auction is an opportunity for coffee lovers and industry professionals to discover the unique and rare coffees and support the farmers who grow them. And I think this is the main thing that we do ourselves in promoting the auctions, is to make sure that producers that don't normally have access to international markets have a chance to, and that they will be rewarded for creating value and really good quality coffee. And a lot of hard work goes into that. The bit we do is we help connect the buyers and the sellers, but I think, you know, the important really hard work is Sherri, David, Anu and their teams that will be making this all possible, and helping the farmers understand what needs to be done, and helping surface some really good quality coffee. So I thought let's perhaps first introduce Sherri. Sherri's an authorised SCA trainer, former Cup of Excellence judge, and also, since moving on from Cup of Excellence a number of years ago and becoming a freelancer, she has headed up and led many national and international juries worldwide. So Sherri, why don't you tell us a bit more about yourself and what you're doing with Gems?
Okay, well, if I tell you too much about myself, you'll figure out how old I am, so I'm not going to do that. But I can tell you that, you know, one of the most gratifying and also exciting aspects of, you know, hosting this particular competition, the Gems of Araku, is that it really, all coffee cupping is a journey, let's say. And for me, it's very exciting because, you know, on a global marketplace, most people don't understand the quality that Araku Valley in India can offer. It's a non-traditional growing area. It's in the Eastern Ghats. Most people, again, global marketplace, understand coffee of India is predominantly grown in the South, and it's a Robusta. But these, you know, I've been working with Araku on the GEMS program since 2018, and first coming onto it is, you know, I like to know where I feel I can lend my expertise to really help the farmers and to really help propel and help others discover these amazing coffees. So I got involved at that nature. On the nano thing it's amazing that the work in the what they say the Naandi Foundation has curated this program of Araku. A lot of the same standards, real, trust me, it's the same as Cup of Excellence. You know, I've had the blessing to be able to work with coffee cuppers and farmers all over the world and professional level cuppers. And what excites me here is that these individual lots are representing, you know, up to 20,500 tribal coffee farmers. So this genuinely is more than a village coming together. It's multiple villages on one individual lot. But I'll talk a little bit about the flavor profiles, and it really.
Well, shall we come to that? I'd like to first introduce David, and then we can come to some of the detail, if I may.
Sorry.
So David is the Chief Agriculture Advisor at the Naandi Foundation, and you are indeed a specialist in curating and the application of regenerative agriculture and sustainable coffee production. So David, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we can, hopefully Anu will have joined us by then, we can introduce her, and then we can get into the real guts of what we want to discuss. It's fine, Sherri?
Alan. Yeah. So let me just give a little brief on myself. I'm not a foreign expert that's come to here to teach people how to grow coffee. I'm a homegrown Indian grower from the Palani Hills. where I planted my first coffee way back in 1984. And I developed this regenerative agricultural practices over the years. And I had this wonderful opportunity in 2004 to be part of a coffee journey in, and that was the beginning of the journey for Araku coffee for me. And so from that time, from around 500 coffee farmers, grown to 22,000 farmers, and one sort of like milestone after the other to take up the challenge of how do you develop a really quality coffee. And for that, for me, the most important thing is to create that quality soil. So that's basically been my work, is the agronomy, and marrying that agronomy to the coffee science, or the coffee tasting, and the market. Those elements, they all came together to this incredible harmony. And my job is the agronomy. Others that to create that quality coffee came in, and this magical thing happened, and we ended up with a beautiful coffee.
That's great.
And the beauty is, just to add, that these auctions are so important for me as an agronomist, because we're able to judge the quality of our soils, and going with the soils, and what they're expressing into the coffee bean, and also our processes. So these quality coffee are kind of like the top of the pyramid, if you like, with a wide pyramid base of quality. So that's the beauty.
Absolutely, absolutely, that is important. And now we have also with us Anu Sreeramaneni, and Anu, I hope I got that right. I apologise. I wasn't. Didn't practice.
No problem, Alan.
Now, Anu oversees production, operations, sales, and also is in charge of the transformation initiatives in Araku. And who's been instrumental in aggregating the Araku farmer families and finding B2B markets for everyone to attach to. So Anu, why don't you introduce yourself and tell everybody who's tuned in who you are and what you do, and then we can move on to the more general, detailed discussion of what we're doing together.
Hey everyone, thank you Alan for the introduction, and sorry I was a bit late joining in. And I've been working with Araku Transformation for the last 13 years, and since then we have grown from 1,000 farmer families to a current 25,000 farmer families. Wow. Included as part of the initiative, and it's been a great journey. And I look into all the operations along with David, and more as we go more into the deeper into the chat, I guess.
Yeah. So David, why don't you tell us, and I know you touched upon this before Anu joined us, why don't you tell us a little bit about why this auction is so special?
Yeah, so the importance of the auction, as I sort of mentioned, was as an agronomist, it tells me where we're moving, what kind of taste profiles are coming up, and what are those antioxidants, and what are the special nutrients creating special quality tastes in the coffee. I think Sherri was delighted with some new ones this year, and I'm really happy to know that, you know, the soil microbiology job. So for me, it's basically a platform to be able to sort of showcase where we're going with the coffee, opportunities to sort of just tune to higher profiles and unique profiles that we have in Araku. And that's as a result of an incredible amount of hard work from the team, Anu, and that whole operationalizing sort of the vision to particularly to restore the soils, because we didn't start with a rich soil, sort of like as they did in the Western Ghats. We basically started with degraded soils, and we had to basically curate these soils. We had to basically design these soils for the coffee and eventually get to the point where we arrive at a quality coffee. So that's basically why the auctions are important. They kind of tell us where we're going, what's the roadmap. And year to year, we have all these wonderful coffee tasters come out, and with Sherri, they give us their views and their taste profiles, and we're then able to go up into meet the farmers and get that connection between the producer and the customer. And that's incredibly important, and that's the whole basis of our ethos, which is sort of summarized in Araconomics, where that market is connected to the consumer, and in between you have these expertise that curates, and that kind of symbiosis, if you like, that's been created over the years, which I think makes Araku coffee stand out.
So perhaps there's this kind of wonderful combination, which is almost like so like a form of alchemy, where you've got the biodiversity, you've got the knowledge of the farmers, and I think some people describe it as artistry, and you've got the altitude as well. Can you tell me a bit more about how those factors combine to produce the types of coffees that we see come from Araku?
I think you mentioned the diversity of the buyers, and I could also mention that we have diverse soil, and that enables to have a series of unique terroirs there, which we've developed over the years in collaboration with farmers. So each of these soils express these unique profiles for able to then develop unique facts, the SKU, if you like. And as a result of that, over the years, work on these soils, work on the health of the coffee bushes, develop the nursery, all the way from the nursery all the way to the cup. It's developed in liquids, so it's an in-house. I think connecting it to the market, connecting it to these coffee buyers, makes that alchemy work. And one of the critical things for us that we were able to, because we're developing a good market, we're able to guarantee profits for the farmers. And I think it's critical. The farmers then were encouraged to go out into the field, work their coffees, manicure their fields properly, develop their soils. And as a result of that, we got quality. And overlaid with that was the regenerative agricultural practices. So we have what we call this PQR of economics, profit, quality, and the regenerative agricultural practices.
Okay, that's good. Thank you. So Sherri, you've had a lot of experience of leading national and international juries, and taking on board what Dave has been talking about. How do you think this sets this auction and these coffees sets it apart from other ones and other origins and other producers that you've worked with?
Well, at this point, Araku Valley is still on the cusp of getting known globally. We have some buyers that are roasters that are really, dialed into this, and they've been purchasing for a few years. But I think it's really surprising to people that the first time that they're cupping these coffees to understand, wow, these nuances are here. And we had one of our cuppers, David, you were at the table a couple of years ago, just pre-COVID, where one of our cuppers from Bulgaria identified a strain of one of the Ethiopia nuances in the coffee, and you were spot on. You were so impressed. You're like, well, why, yes. And you talked about the genealogy of where that came to be. they're really unique coffees, and they're good qualities. They're nice qualities. They're amazing. The way I look at it is it's presenting, for starts, my role as a head judge is to really ensure that very strict protocol about how the coffees are cupped, right? Because when a coffee scores amazingly well or average or ordinary or just very good, it really has to be, everything has to be perfect for the coffee on the table. I mean, it cannot be the water isn't poured correctly, the grind is off, the roasting is off, all those details. So I mean, I kind of, we had protocol previously, but I mean, I really brought it to the international level, really strict guidelines. Let's say motivation. Those that know me know I can motivate very well some of these things, because it's all about respecting that coffee. And as a result, we were really able to identify some of these wonderful characteristics that, start in the soil, that begin with, some of the inoculants that David has created in his site and the farmers have created. It's pretty exciting. So it presents an opportunity, not just for the farmers, but also for the international buyers. It's something new, discovery. And these, I mean, the name is perfect, Gems of Araku. It really is kind of a hidden gem, but we're working on helping uncover it more and more.
Okay.
I can go into some of the flavor profiles in a bit, but let's let Anu kind of weigh in on
yeah. So I think, talking of these gems, why don't you tell us, Anu, a little bit more about the coffee production itself?
Alan, like Sherri and David already mentioned, coffee production in the region is basically a family farming practice, and all these, most of the lots average about half a hectare, not more than half a hectare of land, and it makes it very possible for the farmer families to be committed to the land, at the same time basically be involved in all the day-to-day operations and be very hands-on. And also this commitment is what translates into all these farms being organic and fair trade certified since 2009.
Yeah.
And the basis of these certifications in the region are what a group of activities that the farmers use in coffee production on a monthly basis, very diligently, in a very systematic process way of what we call a regenerative set of practices. And these regenerative set of practices include using bioinoculants in a certain manner, adapting to the new changes, and also producing the bioinoculants from within the region, within the proxim, lot of biological matter and biomatter within the proximity of where they grow. So all these ensure that soil health is well maintained, and they gradually see improvement in soil. And this also shows their commitment and what we call improving the terroir and farmers' commitment to sustainability. So these are all very subtle things that come out, but very, very strong factors that influence the coffee production.
Yeah.
And all these over years have become into a mass movement in the region, which we call Arakunomics, which is an integrated approach of how the land, the efficient, how good the land is, improving soil health, as well as farmer family practices within the. So all these come out in a cup that Sherri has explained. The flavor notes and all the tasting notes.
So before I come to you, Sherri, I just wanted to touch on something. We'll talk about the curation of the, the coffees that make it into the auction in a minute. But I think, and I know you've got something to add to what Anu was saying, but I just wanted to bring in Andy here, and David. I mean, Naandi, Andy, David. On how, yes, on how you've seen the, from an agronomy point of view, how you've seen this progression from, over this period of time, from where you started to where you are now, and you know and the ideas that Anu puts into this and the framework that she's providing, and how that's you've seen the agronomy and the quality of the soil and the actual agricultural side of it change.
Yeah. So what was so very important was to have someone like Anu there to sort of operationalize all those regenerative agricultural practices. That was key. And then we had to, in 2004, the coffee conditions were pretty dreadful. The farmers were not traditional coffee growers. So we had to basically start from base. They had coffee, but some of the coffee was growing, as I say, in a different version of high altitude coffee. It was growing like 40 feet high and hadn't been pruned, So we had to work backwards on that and systematically go to each field. We had to set up farmer field schools. We had to talk about microbiology, about life in the soil, which was music to the farmers' ears, because they instinctively know that. And so we were able to put it into a scientific terms, and we had these training courses, year after year, month after month. And the most beautiful thing is that we set up a monitoring system on a monthly basis. And we had a set of practices which were developed, and they were monitored and they were marked. So each farmer knew where he was on the progression. So he knew whether he was on, an A, B, C, D kind of thing. And on top of that, we overlaid a competition so that the best farmer, the best village, the most improved farmer, and the most improved village, and that sort of set a spark of interest to all farmers. And at the end of it, of course, we had the celebration at the end of it, which was the coffee festival. And, 9,000 farmers come together this year, and they see the best farmer, the best village, and all of that. And there's a big celebration. And that's the way agriculture should be. We have these festivals, all throughout the world, regarding harvest. And so we brought that in. We brought in a spark of that. We guaranteed profit for the farmers. There was a lot of interest there from that point of view. But most importantly, I think, as Anu alluded to, we brought in this knowledge how to revive a soil through microbiological science. And I think that was critical, because most of the specialty coffee is not talking microbiology. They're talking, how you can tweak a cup, how you can maybe tweak the processing. But the base of that coffee science is the quality of the bean. And each bean has 1 million cells approximately. I haven't counted them, but I've been assured that there's 1 million cells in one coffee bean. And the coffee bean is unique in the sense that it's got quite a thick, for a seed, it's got quite a thick outer casing. And so the drying of the coffee is critical, because if you dry too fast, you get micro cracks, and then you get burnt tastes in the coffee. So that's where the roasters come in, and the speciality of roasting comes in, to be able to ensure that coffee bean is given the right roasting. But I think for me, one of the most telling things, maybe about 20 years ago, we had a coffee festival in Bangalore, curated by the Coffee Board. And there, Ernesto Illy was invited. And he brought along these pictures of electron microscopes of coffee being roasted. So he would roast the coffee at different stages. He would slice it, do an electron microscope of what's happening to that coffee bean, those 1 million cells. And then when you get to the point where that combustion, that pressure inside the cell exploded, and you saw these lipids exploding within the coffee cell walls. For me, that visually, that was so very important, because it made me realize that those lipids were so important, and lipids and health are so critical. So for me, to have a good soil that feeds the coffee bean properly with the proper nutrition, the antioxidants, the proper amount of oils, the harmonization between the chlorogenic acid and the nicotinic acid, all of those elements that are so very important for the chemistry of the cell came from the biology of the soil. You know, that's what delivered it. And
So,
that for me, what was so critical was to be able to sort of bring that element, marry that element of agronomy to the science of roasting coffee, tasting coffee. So that's the story of our book.
That's good. And I think actually, I mean, this is the third year that we've run the auction, and I think so. This will be the third time, Sherri, that you've curated the the final lineup that is being sold through the auction. So I think David's talking about this progression and the lipids and all the different qualities. You know, how when you look at it from your point of view, how have you seen that change and progress and develop? You know, I know this year's got some special results. So it's interesting to see your.
It is. Well, it's exciting. It's exciting. Again, coffee cup cuppery. And you know, for me, we actually, this particular year, we have a gentleman who is running what they call the coffee unit, or the CU, named by the name of Vinod. He selected 900 lots based on the color, the size of the beans, the crimson reds, the bricks in it, from those 900 individual lots. And keep in mind, the average lot size, or the plot size for farmers, is a half acre, maybe 3 acres, no more. It's really important that these are family farms, that they're taking care of the plants almost as if they're their children, right? Mm-hmm. So, but he, with 900 lots, I get involved in the process of roasting and cupping each individual lot only by a code. Now, on any one particular lot, there will be up to 7 villages represented and 50 farms, right? Because these are small lots. So I began, let's say, 395 different lots or samples, all coded 3-digit code, blind cup tasting, scoring them on a 100-point system, which is how we do. We're looking at body, flavor, acidity, finish, complexity, balance, clean, and sweet. I'll back up with clean and sweet, because for me, as a cupper, that is the foundation of all the quality of these coffees, right? So it's imperative that you have those things taken care of right from the get-go, so that you can appreciate and identify some of these very qualities of flavors in there, and also the acidity itself. So from 395, went to the top 40 scoring lots. Those top 40 scoring lots, and again, sample roast, and by what I'll say a regional jury here in India, right? And these are cuppers that know their stuff and that are skilled cuppers. It's not somebody time that wants to taste coffee. Very particular about who gets on the jury, and who knows that. So from the top 40, then, our regional jury, we have our top 20. Again, now with that, we have invited geographically down, because you found some unintentionally subjective activity, let's say. But all of these are professional level cuppers. So they can really kind of step aside from those. But let's say a coffee that's popular in Japan may have the same flavor profile that's popular in New Zealand or Australia. So what of the coffees then were individually sample roasted again, coded, and poured. And we had 11 cuppers on this jury representing different countries. And I'll break away into briefly of some of the flavor characteristics of these coffees. And some of these are very unique. They're very pronounced, and they're getting more and more pronounced each year, it seems. I like to say that this is the competition or the auction. There's a variety of flavor profiles on there. And so if we've got time, I'm just going to give you a recap of some of the flavors. And then is that all right? Okay, here's my okay, so anyway, that's the pop quiz, but I'm just going to use some of the characteristics. Complexity, dimensional, honey, clarity. Big one this year was very refined lime acidity. This is a combination of some of the characteristics, guys, all in one particular lot. But some very flavors, say whiskey barrel or boozy. We had dried mangoes. Let's see, what else have I got? Minty, floral, very elegant coffees. Some of my favorite terms coming forward. And these cardamom, spices, honey, caramel, different levels of coffee. It's really interesting how a diverse jury, but still calibrated jury, can come together. And as the cupping session happens, again, we are cupping in silence. We're not sharing scores, we're not talking about favorite characteristics, but following each session, we have discussion room, and then all the cuppers will come in there. And I know the drill that have been on juries with me before, but we talk about each individual code or each particular lot, and then some characteristics of the score. And it's really surprising how we come together and identify some of the same characteristics. That's really exciting.
Yeah.
Really fruit. Red cherry, pineapple, grilled pineapple, even tomatoes. Just some of these characteristics are just really amazing and exciting. This isn't a pop quiz for you guys that are listening. All it really is on the Gems of Araku. But it's exciting. It's exciting for me, and it's motivating. And I really want to celebrate and help the farmers celebrate. So I appreciate the opportunity coffees again this year and leading the jury their path of discovery to find their own gems.
Yeah. Just a reminder for those that have joined you, this is a discussion with the key people involved in putting together the Gems of Araku auction, which will be running on the 24th of May at 2 p.m. London time. We've got Anu here, and I want to talk to you now because I think we've heard from David about from the agronomy. We've heard about the curation of the coffees and the flavors, but one thing that is remarkable is the intercropping and how we've got, and Sherri touched upon this, where you've got all of these microlots coming from a lot of different places, but there's actually a lot of work that goes into it's a patchwork quilt, was the way you described it to me when we first met in 2021. So let's talk a bit more about that, because I think it's unique.
So, Alan, it's definitely unique. And where we started was with an objective to optimize the farm work and the labor that a family puts in a coffee farm. Towards this, right from the beginning, we had biodiversity was at the top of our minds. And within biodiversity, there is, of course, and farm optimization. Pepper was always part of the coffee farm in the region. And then added to it, in terms of shade, what we've done is add a lot of fruit trees and variety of species, not one or two varieties, but close to 15 varieties of species within the coffee farms. And this has been done over the last 1 decade. So over the years, along with improvement in soil health, the complexity of flavors, I believe, came through with all the different practices of mulching, various different variety of leaves into the soil that added to the nutrition of the coffee bush, which translated further into the coffee profile. And so the biodiversity, farm optimization in terms of profits definitely make the coffee very, very complex. And the notes that Sherri already explained bring out those flavor notes. The other key thing that happens is we selectively, all the farmers selectively handpick the cherries at the harvest time. And usually a typical farmer family goes back to the same coffee farm at least 4 to 6 times to harvest over a season. And that ensures we always get the best produce, the red ripe cherries. And I know this is a common practice in many specialty coffee farms around the world. But what makes it unique for Araku is what I call the last mile challenge. Getting to a coffee farm in Araku is done only, you can only walk there. And there is no scope for any machines. You cannot take any two-wheelers or cycles or any mechanized transportation. You cannot take help of any four-legged friends. We cannot take a horse, a donkey, a cow to carry the load. So getting the coffees, that shows the dedicatedness and commitment of the farmers to the coffee itself. So, and usually these farms are at least average, I would say, 1 mile to 2 miles from their living quarters or the nearest villages. And added to that, so with all the farmer commitment, we had to ensure from Naandi, we upkeep the quality in the down the supply chain. So when we receive the coffee cherries, we process them at a central processing unit under Vinod that Sherri mentioned, and under Vinod's supervision. And at the central processing unit, it's been a lot of learning, a lot of innovation, a lot of creativity that goes in which we use David's agronomy to improvise. We use professors of biochemistry and microbiology to understand yeasts and various, besides the washed, the wet processing that we do, the natural process, the cherry processing that we do, and the honeys that we produce. We have also been experimenting with a lot of local yeasts or microbial matter in processing. So these unique flavors also you will see in a much smaller quantity in our 6 nanolots that are on auction. And besides the washed, natural and honey process in the main 20 lots that are going on auction. So coffee is truly unique, not because we say this, but with all these, what is more unique is that all this happens at scale. There are 22,000 farmer families working towards getting these lots to everybody. So specialty coffee at scale for 25,000 acres of land is what really, the combined effort of the farmers from a single origin is what makes it more unique in my perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this has overall been a fascinating discussion on what I believe is the 15th edition of the auction, whether it's been in origin or online. So there is a very rich history. But I think before we go, it'd be nice to hear a summary from David and then from Sherri, and then back to you, Anu, to finish us off. David, do you have some closing remarks or thoughts that you would like to convey to us before we go?
Yeah, thanks, Alan. I think, hearing, Sherri and Anu speaking, I can just, a summary of it really is that I think the whole experience of Araku has been a demonstration of harmony. There's this combination of producers and the logistics of getting the coffee to a central processing unit, connecting it to the market, having expertise in processing the coffee. This harmonization, I think, is probably, for me, kind of sums up what Araku is all about. It's that spirit of sharing and caring that the farmers so beautifully express, and we take it all the way to the market. And I think that's the beauty of the coffee. I think the beauty of the coffee is it expresses that harmony that's come from a non-traditional coffee growing area to what we call now the traditional coffee growing area in India, and we call the others the non-traditional. So I think that's a fair enough comment, that we have sort of proved that, with a group of dedicated farmers, dedicated investors and expertise from all around the world came together and produced this beautiful coffee. It's that alchemy we talk about, and those tastes that are picked up by the cup tasters are just unique every year, and it's perfectly in line with the whole terroir approach. That, you know, the combination, that the differences in climate, the differences, you know, in the farmer's capacity to be in the field, and then, you know, the soil as it ameliorates in its quality, all those things come together to say, hey, the future for the coffee is it just grows exponentially, because those taste profiles evolve, and each year is just one excitement, and it's beautifully expressed in the way Sherri comes through every year and just says, oh my God, I got whiskey barrel this year. I never had whiskey barrel, you know, and so sometimes we get cup profiles that we got from the years before, like green apple, which popped up again this year. And so these are all exciting sort of gems that we discover each year. So it's kind of like it's like a hunt. It's like a treasure hunt in coffee tasting. So that's the beauty of it, and it's just been so beautiful to be a part of that journey.
So Sherri.
Wow, boy, that's tough to follow.
Yeah, treasure hunts, gems.
I love everything that David says, of course, and I always learn as well. But I think where he talks about the harmony, I believe that, you know, the harmony between the farmers all the way to the proof is in the cup of what's going on. It's really pretty and amazing journey. And you guys will laugh, but I think, you know, every sip's a trip. It's just incredible of what's opportunity there. For me, it's very exciting to have this past discovery and to evaluate these coffees as they compare on a global marketplace, because I think it's very exciting. The diversity that we have in the cups is still pretty amazing. I will put a pitch in for the website, Gems of Araku, because the auction is May 24th, and there may be a couple of sample boxes left. I'm not quite sure, and it's getting pretty close to the auction, but you can read all the different flavor descriptors of the individual lots, all the families that are on the lots, how many people, how many, you know, click on those links. It's a great read, even if you're not into coffee, but I think you would be after you read the stuff. But I would encourage you to look at that, because for me it's very exciting, and I think it's an opportunity not only for the farmers, but also for roasters, you know, for offering something that's different, but not because it's just different, but because it's really, it speaks of a place, and it speaks of the harmony of what's happening from the soil all the way through to the brewed cup. It's pretty amazing. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah,
it's in the cup. Yes,
I think so, and I think you should all the way. So one last reminder before we come to Anu to finish off. It's the 24th of May. It's at 2 p.m. UK time on the Gems of Araku auction website, which you can find you can either find through this Instagram account or through sensible.coffee. It'll be listed in our auction calendar, or you can Google Gems of Araku auction, and I'm sure you will find it. And then you can register, you can order samples still, not many left, and then you can take part in this very interesting auction, which Anu is going to summarize eloquently for us as we leave.
So,
no pressure.
Yes, absolutely. Very exciting times for us, because all the results of the hard work and all are coming together. And we've seen it on a bigger platform, gemsofaraku.com, with Sensibles Association in the last 3 years. And all I can promise is 22,000 farmers are going to get to 100,000 farmers. Auctions are going to be better and bigger and better. And coffees are going to just be more delightful down the years. So looking forward to seeing you all, and May 24th, join us. Like Alan said, 2 p.m. UK time, and let's have a great auction.
Yeah, exactly. And may the best buyer win.
Yes.
Cheers, guys. Cheers. Much. And Alan, thank you for your hard work on this too. The website looks great. We love your technology to help get these amazing coffees to the world at large.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
And
you all.
speak to you all soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.